focused on this work, and your work is important not only for what you do here every day, but what it will mean in the future and around the country. So this is really an exciting time, and it is also important because this is the first vice president, as you all know, to be a graduate of an historically Black college and university. So this is a seminal moment all around, and I know we will have a wonderful conversation. So with that, as always, it is a pleasure to introduce the Vice President of the United States.
Thank you, Ben. Well, it is an honor to be here at Hampton University with all of you. I want to thank the president, Dr. William Harvey, who warmly greeted us on our arrival. Congresswoman Luria, thank you for your leadership for Hampton, for HBCUs, for the state of Virginia, and for our country. Mayor, thank you for the warm welcome as well, and for all the work that you have done. I also want to thank Chairman Bobby Scott, the congressman who represents Virginia. He is a huge supporter of our HBCUs and actually is in a committee hearing, I believe today, advocating for the infrastructure bill that we are proposing. And that includes a significant contribution that we intend to make to our HBCUs around infrastructure as well as research. I believe we are at the beginning of a new era. I believe that we, in this new era, are more interconnected and interdependent than ever before, as highlighted by the things that you, as our nation's young leaders, have witnessed in just this last year and a half. We've seen a pandemic, which has really emphasized the significance of our mutual investment in the issue of global health. We have seen cyber attacks, which tell us the role and the use of technology, not only for good as we know it in our everyday lives, but can be weaponized. We know it when we think about climate and the extreme weather we've been experiencing. Ida, in terms of the hurricanes, the floods that have happened in my home state of California, the wildfires. We used to refer to wildfire season. We don't do that anymore. It's all year round. You all are the leaders in this new era, because in particular, our nation and our world will require the smart people that you are to lead on issues that require dedication and a development of skills around science and technology and engineering and math. And Hampton University is one of the leaders, I say as a Howard graduate. Couldn't let that go, guys. I say that knowing as vice president what you're doing here at Hampton University. The partnership between Hampton and NASA, the fact that I believe there are 4 satellites because of Hampton that are right now orbiting, giving us invaluable information that allows us to not only predict, but to analyze what is happening in our world and in our atmosphere. This is extraordinary work that is happening. And I'm here to say, as Vice President of the United States, that our HBCUs are some of the great leaders in this vital work that must happen in the new era, that not only is an era for our country, but for the world. So I'm very proud to be here. And I think about the world of the challenges, but I think about it in the context of HBCUs. And I am reminded, Hampton University educated Mary Jackson, NASA's first Black female engineer. It is from Hampton University that we have Dr. Cooper, who is working on the current Mars mission at NASA right now. Today, Hampton is the first and only HBCU to fully control a NASA mission. I was just upstairs getting the most recent information on the Ames satellite as an example. And so when we talk about the role of HBCUs on this issue, let's be very clear that HBCUs are not only competing, HBCUs are leading. And it is for that reason that it is in the best interest of our nation, including our national security, to invest in our HBCUs. So that's why I'm here today. including the fact that this is a week that most of us year round, but this week formally celebrate the role of our HBCUs in our nation. So the agenda for the president and me includes not only doing everything we can to lift up our HBCUs, but to know that if we are to invest in the strength of our nation, we must invest in our HBCUs. And that is why through our Build Back agenda that we are making a historic investment in research and development. One of the things that you all know is that historically our HBCUs have done extraordinary research work. But over the years, some of the facilities have experienced the wear and tear, and we need to invest in allowing our HBCUs to do what all universities should have the ability to do, all education facilities should have the ability to do, which is to upgrade. I was upstairs on the roof admiring that impressive telescope. And one of the points that was made by the professor is that as technology evolves, pieces get smaller, they get less expensive. It makes it more easy for HBCUs to adapt to then the new technology and to bring it in, but they need the support. So that's the other point of our emphasis. And then the point also is about the impact on all of this on our economy. Right? So the demand for STEM workers is high throughout our nation and frankly throughout the world. STEM occupations are expected to grow at twice the rate of all other occupations in the next decade. For women in the workforce, for women of color in particular, for Black women, STEM careers will help narrow the pay gap. And we must ensure that all people are represented in the fields of STEM. And I'm reminded and think of, for example, the issue of what I call machine learning, AI, and what that means, because artificial intelligence is fueling so much of how our systems are analyzing information. But understand, artificial intelligence is at its core machine learning. What do we know about any kind of learning? What you learn will likely be a function of who's teaching you and what their life experience and perspective is. So we want to make sure that in this era where AI is informing so many decisions, that the people who are teaching the machines represent the full gamut of those who will be affected by what the machines decide to do. So all of these are critical and important aspects of why I am here today and why the work here at Hampton University and at so many of our HBCUs is critically important to all people in our country. And the last point I will make is that for me, at the core of this is also the importance of self-determination. Understanding that this is about ensuring that when we invest in our HBCUs, that we have full participation in our society and in these systems that have an impact on a broad range of people. And that is why the dedication and the investment of our administration and all people should understand the significance of our HBCUs. So with that, I am so happy and proud to be with these leaders, with these young leaders. And Vincent, why don't we start our discussion?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to first introduce or have the students introduce themselves. We're going to start with Skylar.
Hello, my name is Skylar Turner. I am a junior biochemistry major from Kansas City, Missouri, and my research focuses on air quality analysis and with an emphasis on ozone and ash and also nitrogen dioxide. And I believe the instrument you saw upstairs was the Pandora instrument, and that's the instrument that I use with my research to discuss and analyze air quality analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Kayla Patterson. I am a senior majoring in computer science and minoring in mathematics from Robbinsville, New Jersey. And I have done past research with NASA working on Orion's vehicle, which is a space vehicle. And my improved the accuracy of predicting different images.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Madam.
Hello, my name is Amanda Harvey. I am a graduating senior cellular and molecular biology major from Woolwich, New Jersey. And something that I've been working on in the past 2 summers is with Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. And we've been trying to find a conclusive way to diagnose PTSD, and then also find early markers of PTSD to help treat it, and because it is such an important issue within the military. So one way we're looking at it is on the molecular level and like mRNA, and just trying to find ways that like to better identify it, because there is no conclusive way to diagnose PTSD rather than just a questionnaire at this point.
That's particularly important at this moment. That's wonderful. I think, you know, on the issue of healthcare as a general matter, we've actually, I think one of our biggest public policy failures as a country has been our failure to adequately address mental health. We act as though healthcare means treating the body from the neck down instead of realizing what we need to do around healthcare from the neck up. So thank you for that.
Patterson.
Hi, my name is Madison Stampley. I'm a 3rd-year chemical engineering major from Dallas, Texas. And I'm also a NOAA EPP and CESART scholar working with the Atmospheric and Planetary Science Department here at Hampton University. And my focus, my research focus is basically determining available wind power estimates for offshore wind energy.
Fascinating. We were asked presentations just before I came down here.
Hey, my name's Aaron Jones. I'm a graduating senior physics major from Montgomery, Alabama. And this past 2 summers, just like Amanda, I've been with the Department of Defense Army Research Labs, working on using radioactive isotopes to create batteries, basically.
Oh, which is about the growth of technology, but also jobs.
Exactly.
That's something we're really looking at in terms of our approach to growing infrastructure, growing our economy. What are you going to do next after you graduate?
I'm planning to go to grad school. I'm looking at like and a few others.
And what would you be pursuing academically?
Nuclear physics,
Ah.
a PhD, hopefully.
In nuclear physics. You're brilliant. Thank you. Yes.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Nash. I'm a 3rd-year marine environmental science major from Phoenix, Arizona. And the research I'm doing here is working with Dr. Horodisky with the effects of ocean acidification and other climate change effects on fish sensory biology.
Oh, that's bad. And the whole issue, are you looking at like the deterioration of coral and all what that's like the impact of climate on what's happening in our ocean?
It's specifically the changes in climate on their senses, fish senses. So like fish otoliths, which are ears,
Yeah.
they actually grow and they're bigger. And it changes the different frequencies that they can listen to. And that affects not only their behavior, but their reproduction and other major.
So over time, they've been growing? Interesting. And does that give them a greater sensitivity to sound, or does it reduce their sensitivity?
It reduces their sensitivity to certain sounds.
So that has an impact on their survival, probably, huh? That's fascinating. I read a book once called The 6 Extinctions. Have you read that book?
No.
You might want to take a look at it. It's easy to read because you could just read it one extinction at a time. But it is scary, and there's one piece that is about just what's happening in the ocean and how that relates to it's an ecosystem. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I could be with you guys all day long. We have so much to talk about.
I want to back up and you can share with the Vice President. Why did you all choose Hampton University to come to? We know that HBCUs, 25% of the students that are STEM majors come from historically Black colleges and universities. What made you all seek this experience? We'll start with you, Jonathan.
So there's 3 reasons why I chose Hampton. One, I'm a legacy. So I'm the 4th generation in my family to be a Hampton student.
To not go to Howard.
Exactly.
Tell them I said hello.
Will do. The second is just the connections and network that I can make. So this summer, I was actually working at Woods Hole Oceanographic
Oh,
Institute.
really?
Yes.
I visited there. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was working with the PEP program.
Uh-huh.
So I was there just for a week. I was able to present, but I was also doing things virtually.
Mhm.
And just those opportunities and connections that we've made in partnerships with other things, you know, you can't find that anywhere else.
Yeah. Oh, that's special.
And then my third reason is just the quality of not only just people, but, you know, Black men and women
That's
coming
right.
out of Hampton University is just above all.
It's a strong legacy. That's right. That's wonderful.
For me, I had a couple of really good reasons why I wanted to come to Hampton. Mainly, my first one was probably just like meeting new people and different experiences. I feel like every person I meet here just has such a different look on life or different experiences and where they come from or what they're interested in. Now, another thing is my physics teacher back in high school was actually a Black woman who graduated from here. So that was the first time I got introduced to physics, and I got to see someone of my skin tone working in this field. So it
That's
really
right.
motivated me to come here.
That's right.
I mean, I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU. The experience is just different than what you did at PWI. And Hampton just decided, you know, it was a choice for me. And the opportunities here are really something because with how close knit all the departments are, like I'm really close with the chair of my chemical engineering department.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of opportunities that come my way that I probably wouldn't get at like any other type of school.
Yeah.
I grew up in a mostly predominantly white community, and my parents made sure every chance they got to expose me to Black excellence. So coming to Hampton and seeing all the leaders and all the people around campus, just being such great representatives of what a great Black woman is, a great Black man is, I just knew I was in the right place, and I knew they would take care of me and get me to where I wanted to be.
That's right.
Yes, I definitely second that. I guess personally for me, I decided to go to HBCU because I wanted to grow as a Black woman. You know, I also went to a predominantly white school where I was the only minority. And I wanted to go somewhere where I felt like, you know, I belonged. And I felt like there was people that also looked like me, as well as within the computer science department, the amount of resources that comes with that. Freshmen, we have this Google in Residence program, and it's such a great program because we actually work with a software engineer at Google that teaches us coding as well as interview prep. So just the amount of resources that came with that is why I decided to go to an HBCU.
I would say my experience is different from everyone. So I say that Hampton chose me. I didn't initially want to go to Hampton. It was not my first choice. But I got accepted into the Department of Defense STEM Scholars Program. And they basically fed me like a golden platter. And there's no way I could refuse. And with that, I 100% I wouldn't want to go to any other university after coming here. The experience is really one that I could have never even imagined. I've been given so many opportunities, connections that will just build outside of Hampton. And just the people who attend the university, the professors, and the environment that is here. I love it. And I just feel as a whole, I've changed and become a better person. So I think HBCUs are just necessary in society.
I agree with you. And I had a very similar experience to what you all are describing. I think that the importance to our nation of HBCUs is that we as a nation want to encourage that every individual will reach and maximize their potential and their capacity. And we have to recognize that not every environment has that same capacity. And some are just a little bit more special than others. And for Black students to go to an HBCU creates an environment, if that's the choice that you make, to go to an HBCU, where you don't really have to choose what part of yourself is your identity. Because every human being, regardless of their race and gender, There's many facets to who they are. And the best environment, especially in this age of your life and in development, is an environment that says to you, all of those things are who you are, and we applaud them. You don't have to elect that because you are a young Black student in America, that this one thing is who you are. You know, I always would talk about the fact that, you know, you could be brilliant in science and in STEM, and you all probably, if we had more time, we would talk about the other interests in your life and your other talents and your other experiences. And being in an environment like this, it will recognize what your passion is and then encourage and fan that flame, but not require you to do that at the exclusion of the other aspects of who you are and who you want to become. And that's important to our nation if we want to invest in the human potential of all of us and each of us. So thank you all for sharing those personal stories. I think it's important for others to hear those stories, to understand the significance of our HBCUs.
The Vice President talked in her opening remarks about Mary Jackson and Dr. Cooper and those scientists that were produced through HBCUs. Why did y'all actually choose to be in the STEM field? What kind of motivated you to select the majors that you have here at Hampton? We'll start with you.
Oh, yes, definitely. I guess with me, I always loved math. And my parents, they really said, oh, like, you know, you should try something in tech. So in high school, I took an intro to computer science course and I absolutely loved it. And I had a professor in high school that really pushed me because she was telling me, like, there's not a lot of people that look like you that are in computer science. So with that push and having someone really like advocate for me, it really pushed me to, you know, stick with computer science. And then at Hampton, I just loved it.
For me, I've always been STEM-minded. Well, my mom's a math teacher, so I grew up around math. And then I was in a STEM program in high school. And then with that, I found my niche in biology. So then from that, majoring in biology was a no-brainer to me. And I've honestly, it's my strongest field just to be in STEM. So going to a STEM career just follows that path.
Yes.
Well, math and science just always kind of came easy to me, easier than like, you know, English or history or any of those other subjects. So, you know, I tried my hand at robotics in my engineering classes, messing with circuits and things like that. And I found a true love in chemistry, with the kind of combination of, you know, memorizing all these different formulas and everything, but also with the math side of it, I was like, this is actually kind of the perfect like mesh of my interests. And when I learned that I could combine it with engineering, I was like, chemical engineering, that sounds perfect. So
For me, physics was really about like discovering the world around me. I realized that once you have a major in physics, you can go into so many branches. Like I said, I want to do nuclear physics, but it can branch into astronomy, into observing the world down here, observing subatomic things. I feel like I just get to explore and see more of the world than most people get to without ever having to actually travel.
That's a great point. You know, I head up the Space Council, and I also live at the Naval Observatory. The official residence of the Vice President is at the Naval Observatory, and so we'll have to figure out one day, maybe you all can come and visit with me there. But there's a huge telescope there. We'll figure that out. But you're absolutely right. And so one evening I went out and looked through the telescope there. You guys have probably seen this from all the equipment you have here. But with my own eyes, I saw the craters on the moon. With my own eyes, like it wasn't a picture. It was through this telescope. But you're so right. You can travel the world and you're just standing right there in one place. It's beautifully said.
So my main reason started really early. So I grew up fishing with my grandparents, and that just kind of sparked a interest of, well, what's in there? What possibly is going on, you know, under the water. And once I actually got to Hampton, started doing more environmental science as well, you know, that started opening up, well, let's look at the whole environment. Let's observe everything, you know, atmospheric or, you know, on the ground or in the water. Regardless, let's look at everything. And try to improve it as much as we can.
Mhm. It is fascinating how much we don't really well, just that you do much more than certainly me and probably most people, but what's happening underwater. There's a whole world literally down there, isn't it? And we got to make sure that we're taking care of it because it's
Absolutely.
part of our earth. Yeah, that's great.
Y'all are working with a lot of federal partners. I know somebody mentioned DOD, there's NASA. I think Kayla, you had talked about being in tech and
NOAA. Yeah.
NOAA as well. Tell us about those partnerships that you have here at Hampton, how the university has prepared you and partnered with those institutions, and like, what is the research you're doing? Like, what's the cutting edge? What's going on? Like, how's it going? So, Skylar.
So I work with NOAA. My research is with NOAA and specifically Dr. Anderson over at the Atmospheric Science Building.
Mhm.
And so with them, I've been working with them since freshman year, since the spring of freshman year.
Mhm.
And since then, my research has been mainly focused on air quality data.
Mhm.
And so from that point on, from the beginning, it's really been an experience, to say the least, having people there. He's been there every step of the way, having people there alongside me, working and really making a difference is something that I really enjoy while working there. I've only worked with NOAA specifically, and we have mainly been focusing on the Pandora instrument that is newly installed over at Turner on the roof.
Mhm.
And by using that, we're able to really predict trends and provide analysis for the ozone and the nitrogen dioxide within this community and the area. So yeah.
But that's also the benefit of the partnership, right? Because
Yes.
we do, and we're going to continue to, it's a big issue for certainly for the president and me and our administration in this moment to continue to invest more in the work we do as the US government in research and science and technology. And we have, there is important work that's happening in the private sector and obviously, we've been seeing examples of that recently, but we as the United States government have such capacity to scale up and especially through partnerships. So for students, it really is a great way to understand and discover the capacity that we have as humans to engage in this kind of research and study. So that's wonderful that you're over there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I've realized like the impact of NOAA and like
Yeah.
whether it's the Weather Channel or whether you Google something and try to figure out what's the temperature going to be today. Like they really have an impact on almost every aspect of weather and climate in the nation.
Isn't it something?
Yeah.
Isn't it? And it teaches you also that the significance of one human being, a student, and the impact that you can have on people you'll never meet around the globe because of the work that you're doing. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yes, definitely. So within the computer science department, we have within the cybersecurity, we're the academic of excellence with the NSA as well as Homeland Security. So I have a lot of peers doing research with them. When it comes to like corporate partnerships, we work with Mozilla doing different projects with that, as well as Google, the Google in Residence program that we have in there. One of my software classes I'm in right now, we're working with Amazon, working with robotic arms. So we're trying to program that right now. So the amount of opportunities has been great with the amount of projects and resources that we have. It's been like a true great experience, really getting real world experience with industry as well. Yeah.
You know, you're reminding me, I just came back from a trip to Southeast Asia, to Singapore and Vietnam. And one of the areas of focus for me on that trip was supply chain. And what's happening in terms of our ability to produce nationally within our country, but also just the supply chains around the globe, in particular around chips, and what that means in terms of robotics, what that means in terms of the auto manufacturing. I mean, there's so much about what you all are doing that relates to your point, what happens in the private sector on every level, not just their investment in technology, but their use of technology to do what they do. Yeah, that's a great point.
So yes, I am in the Department of Defense STEM Scholars Program at Hampton University, and it is run by Dr. Tolliver, Dr. Lyons, and Dr. Lowe. And basically it entails that we get a full scholarship to Hampton, as well as we have 2 guaranteed internships in partnership with DoD Labs. as well as just numerous opportunities on campus. So I know our advisors like to get us into research. We've had multiple speakers come on campus just talking about ways to get into PhD and get it for free, and just numerous opportunities. And we've got to explore DoD labs, go in person, and also we have our own lab center. It's in Armstrong Slater, and there's 3D printers, lots of like boards that we can just do our homework. It's like a gathering center, so we can really be a cohort and like a family who we call ourselves STEMmies, but we really get through it. So I really I'm very grateful for the opportunities of the program because I built my own family within Hampton. And then also, I feel like when it comes to any opportunity that I need, if I need a letter of recommendation, if I need another research opportunity or job-wise, I have go-to people that I know I can rely on.
That's great.
Madison.
Well, my start with NOAA was something like, I finished up my research with the physics department. I was like, well, I really want to continue doing research with different professors across campus. So I went to my chair and I was like, hey, are there any opportunities on campus that you've got your eye on that I could possibly participate in? Here are the things I'm interested in, one of them being renewable energy. And he was like, oh, sure, check out, the Atmospheric and Planetary Science Department. I'll put you in contact with Dr. Anderson, and, you can get started almost immediately. So they're pretty malleable with what it is in terms of what you want to research. So I was like, hey, I'm interested in renewable energy. It can be solar, it can be wind. I don't care, put me onto something. And he was like, oh, well, we have these weather balloons that we send up off the top of Turner and over the Hampton Bridge. And the data that's collected from these balloons, you can use these and determine wind power estimates that would be beneficial to offshore wind energy and the construction of wind turbines to power offshore. And I was like, that sounds all good to me. So I hopped on immediately, and it's still what I'm working on now. I'm working on actually nailing down the formulas to calculate the exact wind power estimates. But it's been a fruitful process. I learned a lot.
It's again, I can't emphasize enough that you all are going to come in and truly be the leaders. Thankfully, we are, I think, at a moment where there's been almost a, pardon the pun, but almost a seismic change in how people generally are thinking about the significance of the climate crisis. We went through years of, from the 70s and before of the UN, for example, publishing reports that like, this is something we need to pay attention to. We think this is happening. We feel like this is happening. And in the last couple of years, it's been so evident. And I would say, I think most of us would agree, irrefutable, what's happening in terms of the extreme weather changes that we are seeing and this climate crisis. To the point that the UN, and if you all didn't see it, I would urge you to take a look at it. A couple of weeks ago, came out with a report, and it was the first time as the UN has been studying and reporting. And remember, the UN means it's a collection of nations that don't always agree on everything, and certainly haven't always agreed on the tone with which we would approach this issue. The most recent report was declarative, unambiguous, that by 2030, we are looking at an increase in temperature by, I believe they said 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit by 2030. It's the first time that when you watch how they've been reporting this, that there was just a real evident, they did not hide it, sense of urgency of the crisis of the moment. And so you all are going to be graduating and entering the world. You're doing the work right now, where your brains are going to be so important around how can we be innovative? How can we be smart in doing things like predicting wind patterns and coming up with the calculations? How can we think about what that will mean to create jobs? How will we prioritizing in our educational systems the need for this kind of discipline and this kind of work? as a way that is really connected with almost everything that we do in life. Much less, dare I say, without being an alarmist, our survival. Not only of the species, but of the climate and the planet. So know that when you guys are doing the work you are doing with such great excellence, we are going to need you. We are going to need you. And tell all your friends. And tell your younger sisters and brothers and your cousins and everybody else. But that's wonderful work you're doing. Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes. Well, for me, I'm in the same program as Amanda, so we're fellow STEMmies. With that, we've been doing DoD internships for the past 2 summers. So with me, I've been working with the same lab, the Army Research Lab in Delphi, Maryland. And like I said earlier, we're working on beta voltaic and alpha photovoltaic batteries, essentially trying to take these radioactive isotopes and generate enough energy to substantially power devices for what can be years at a time. So, you know, something like americium-241 has a half-life of about—
Wait, once again?
Americium-241 is an isotope that has a half-life of about over 200 years. So that could power devices for however long we need them to.
Wow.
We're seriously looking for sustainable energy options, and that's what I want to work on to do.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But yeah, as far as the DoD program itself, it's been very helpful because I always find opportunities and internships from it. I actually didn't come into the program originally. I just came in as a physics major, and then I was able to join the program from recommendation of my professor. And because of that, I was able to get an offer to internship at Brandeis my first summer, and then these 2 DoD internships. So it's really been a great benefit to my career.
That's great. Yeah, keep doing the internships. And then just remember, you know, to seek out mentors, and that there are no stupid questions you can ask, right? Just learn it all.
So I am a part of the NOAA LMR CSC, which is basically just a collection of, there's a few HBCUs in there, but a collection of schools where they try to groom and develop students for hopefully to work for NOAA, but just become scientists and get to get their PhDs and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I haven't really gotten started with it yet, just because COVID kind of threw a hinge in our plans, but I'm excited to work with them. However, NOAA and NSF, I mean, they're powering and funding multiple internships, you know, abroad. So my experience with them has been great.
That's wonderful. It's wonderful.
You all are all juniors, I believe. Everyone here is a junior or a senior on the way? Seniors. So y'all are graduating. Share with the Vice President what you are most excited and hopeful about as you look towards your career, as you graduate Hampton and the work that you're doing. What are you hopeful about in what you're doing and engaging in? We'll open it up because I'm calling it. Who wants to answer that?
I guess I can go first. I guess after I graduate, I'm looking into graduate schools, and I'm going to do research with artificial intelligence, looking into computer vision. I realize that that's a huge issue, especially with like minorities. With it can detect people with lighter complexions, but with people with darker complexions, it's a huge issue. So that's one thing that I really want to research / get into in graduate school. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to.
That's great. We need you there.
Thank
you.
I can go. So I want to actually be a physician assistant, but also one thing I've just learning about more about research is that I want to understand more of the why as well. And I feel like that's a big problem in medical field. They just give things, but don't understand the backstory behind it. So I want to do also research. So I kind of want to integrate the 2.
Are you familiar with the book, The Deepest Well?
No.
I'd urge you to take a look at it. It was written by a pediatrician who is now the Surgeon General of California, first Surgeon General of California. She happens to be a Black woman who ran a clinic forever in a community with an annual household income of about $15,000 a year, $15,000. And she studied the post-traumatic stress disorder in that community and studied it in a clinical way so that she would track certain objective factors and see that if those objective factors were present, like foster care, anybody incarcerated, witnessed violence, you would see certain physiological outcomes. And she's done some really fascinating research, all motivated by what you said, asking the question why. You should take a look at that. Her name is Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, no relation, but you should take a look at that work, because I think it'll really interest you in terms of all the points that you've made today.
Absolutely.
The deepest well. Okay.
Ashley, you want to answer?
Sure. Most importantly, I think what I'm looking forward to post-graduation and possibly postgraduate school is just finding something that I'm in love with, doing, because I think it's really important to not just work solely for the money. You'll run into a dead end that way. You have to genuinely be motivated about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's really important if you're going to be working on projects that will be helping people internationally.
That's right.
Yeah, after I graduate, I definitely plan on going to grad school, and I hope to get my PhD, like I said. So big things for me are, I just want to lead a research team. That's my big dream. I want to eventually be the head of a research team and be giving orders to people about how to run different situations and machines and make the experiment run properly.
Yeah.
And I really just want to contribute to society some way, especially I feel like this, the kind of energy research I'm doing would be a big help if we could make it more efficient and more available and cost efficient for people.
That's wonderful. You know, my mother was a scientist.
Oh, she was. That's amazing.
And one of the few women of color in science at that time. And the thing I always say about the work that you all are doing is and the beauty of it is that you all have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been. All with the passion and the determination to improve the human condition, right? And to solve problems. That's such an incredible mission that you each are on, with the passion that you bring to it. It's just outstanding, outstanding.
So after college, I want to spend maybe a year or two abroad, and I want to kind of connect the knowledge internationally with the knowledge here in this nation.
Yeah.
But I do want to go to grad school for marine ecology. I believe that the interactions between not only the organisms, but the environment is one of the most important things that we can look at.
That's just wonderful. You know, one of my trips recently, it's been a few months now, but where I just was, you know, I come from California. I'm used to being around water. But I was in Michigan, in Detroit. And well, okay, let's talk about water and the whole spectrum of water, including Flint, right? And water in terms of it being a natural resource and to which all people should be entitled to clean drinking water. And so we can talk about it on that level. But also I was looking at the lakes in Michigan. And I was in a meeting place where they have these big windows looking out at the lake, and the water was so clear you could see literally down to the bottom of the lake. And they'd done so much work there, but thinking about everything that you're talking about, including invasive species, including what needs to be done around what we're doing in the sky and the environment that has a direct impact on the water. So you just made me think of that. It's everywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Skylar, you want to wrap us up?
Yes, sir. So as Amanda was saying, I'm interested in research, but I'm also interested in the medical aspect of it as well. So my biggest thing, my most motivating thing is really just being that example and really being someone that young Black girls can look up to and say, I can do that too. I can be that. I can make a difference in the community, in the nation, in the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you may be the first to do many things. Make sure you are not the last.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Yes,
Good.
Thank y'all. This was fun. Thank you. Y'all are brilliant. You know, the vice president said it at the beginning. Y'all are not just competing, you're leading HBCUs. That's what you are. So, but then I will give it to the vice president also final thoughts.
Well, again, I think it's very important that we highlight in a way that each of you leaders and young leaders has done today, the role of our nation's HBCUs in the biggest issues that challenge our nation and the globe, the historic role that our HBCUs have played, and the current role. And the current role in terms of producing the leaders that are prepared to take on this new era and emerging challenges for which we may not have been prepared, and certainly for which we need to develop the skill sets to figure out the solutions to the challenges we face. And our HBCUs play a critical role in that work. And this in-depth conversation, I think, highlights without any question the role of our graduates of HBCUs and therefore the HBCUs that challenge and educate them, to our nation's security. We talked about DOD, to our nation's development, to our nations, we talked about the global impact, partnerships around the world. And so I want to thank you all for the representation that you have provided today about the role of our HBCUs, again, historically, presently, and in the future. Thank you all very much. Okay, and then we're going to follow up. I do mean that. We can figure out a time.